There we go. Yeah, settings here.
Hello.
Janice. We can hear you.
Okay. Penny and Ed were gonna show up, but I guess they changed their mind when the
No, we're
weather
here.
broke.
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah, it was quite impressive out there. Start video and parsley channel.
JD has agreed to the date today and also challenged Walz to debate September 18th, but the Democratic candidate.
Okay. I think we have this set and going. Penny and Ed, can you hear us okay?
I can hear your voice.
Great.
Are you on video? I can see your video, Penny.
Yeah. So,
You guys get the owl closer to you or something, because your volume is very low.
okay, let me adjust that. Meeting out pro, meeting out pro. Okay. The owl is pretty close. Janice, how is the sound for you?
It sounds pretty good. You know, I had my TV volume on. I just shut it off. So maybe that was the difference. I don't know.
Background. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I think we're in business. We are we're in the middle of a giant thunderstorm and the internet wasn't working here when we arrived. And who knows whether they're going to get a power outage. And of course, we don't have our emergency generator in yet, but we're thinking about one. So anyway, I think we're ready to begin. And
Wow, that's a record. We're less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's Commissioner Benny.
No, don't jinx us. I don't want any phrases here until we actually get through most of the meeting here, and then because otherwise we will get jinxed here. So this is the regular monthly board meeting of the Medium Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. We are meeting virtually, which means that we have people in the room here. We have residents in the room. We have 2 commissioners and the executive director in the room. And then we have 3 commissioners online, and we have some attendees online. So I think all the tech is working here. Yes, and great. So I'm going to call this meeting to order and call the roll. Reg Foster is here.
Jim Flanagan is here.
Scheidler is here.
Penny Kirk is here.
Janice Bennett is here, present.
And for the record, I'm just going to say we're conducting this meeting on a hybrid basis in accordance with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations. Public bodies may continue to hold meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at the meeting location as long as they provide quote unquote adequate alternative public access to such remote meetings. And Governor Healy signed an extension of this that runs until March 31st, 2025. And I imagine that it'll probably go beyond that because I think everybody finds it so useful here. I'm also going to say for the record that the Secretary of the Needham Housing Authority provided adequate notice of this meeting by preparing a public notice dated August 12, 2024, setting forth the time, date, and place of this meeting, and said notice was filed with the clerk of the town of Needham and provided to anybody who requested it. So we are assembled here, and I just have one announcement from the chair, which is we will have a guest attending from Cambridge Housing Authority, Matt Zajac, and probably Chris Moyer as well, because we have several sort of interesting and important agenda items, and we thought they would be very helpful with us, the board going through it. They're not here yet because they had a 5 o'clock conflict. They are expecting to be here around 6 p.m. And, as we usually do with the consent of all the commissioners, when they do arrive, we may take them out of order so they don't have to sit through all the meeting until we get to the agenda items they're helping us out with here. So I think we get to start with resident input, and I see a couple of residents here.
Online too?
Yeah, online, and anybody online who wants to be recognized, please raise your hand. Anybody here want to be recognized? Go ahead. Helen Guragosian?
Oh, okay, Helen, did you want to say something?
No, okay.
Two things, actually. First one is just a very nice thing that happened on Tuesday evening, when we had that little kerfluffle with the paving guys, because we had to park up on, well, they had to park up on Evergreen Road,
Mhm.
and the rest of us had to park up on St. Mary's,
Mhm.
So anyway, at that time, Tuesday, about 5 o'clock, we had the mobile market come in from the Needham Community Farm,
Mhm.
and they usually go down Captain Robert Cook and come up to Seabeds. So not knowing this, that they could not come in, they did bring, along with some customers, they were able to haul some baskets of vegetables and everything right over on the grass on the corner of Seabeds and Captain Robert Cook, just walking on the grass. But anyway, John, who was a volunteer for them, one of the paving guys came up and he was talking to him and he was explaining what this whole vegetable thing was all about, distributing it and everything. And the paving guy just thought it was just amazing that they did something like that. So that was nice. And then the question of you people have had, and they're not here, is when are folks from Seabeds and even Captain Robert Cook going to get a rendering of the architectural design, because they're unsure of, what they would like to see, if they don't know what the design looks like.
Mhm.
So
This is a rendering of what, though?
a rendering of what the building's gonna look like, what they're actually gonna do with the apartments at Seabed. Because we possibly wanted to have like a public input, I guess you could say, because we discussed it at the RAD meeting.
Mhm.
And some people will get confused,
Mhm.
they'll be asking for all these big things,
Mhm.
which may not go along with the design.
Mhm.
So when do the residents get to see what the architectural rendering is going to be?
So,
What's it look like?
there are plans, but it isn't going to show what, they're looking for, but I think it's a good idea anyway. In that, there's nothing particularly going to change about, there's no additions being built, no new windows being put in or anything like that. It's all modernization and renovation and so forth. But
So it'll be
still,
on the inside,
well, and some
Right,
outside,
and the
but
outside.
biggest outside one is gonna be the playground that we've already had a meeting on with
Yeah.
the residents. So that's, that'll be the biggest new nice thing that's happening. And we're going to cover this a little bit when we report. It's on the agenda, the report where we're at with the project. But I'm just turning to Cheryl, and you think, I was thinking as I was preparing for this meeting, and I am prepared for this meeting to kind of give a feel for what we have been doing for the last month, and then maybe have a meeting with the residents and go through it. Yeah, because it's a pretty good story, I think, but you stay tuned and see if you agree with it here, so.
I would like to see it, I'd like to see residents show
Yeah,
up
there's
for it.
nothing to show, but there's a lot to talk about, so.
I did mention at the meeting that we did not have, site design ready yet, so we're sort of at 50%, we're not
But we know what we're going
But we know
forward with.
what, we're discussing, construction costs and things like
Yeah.
that, so, and that's what it said, you know, it's just. More, you know, modernizing,
And I'm gonna,
updating.
we just got the final decision, documents, like yesterday, the day before yesterday.
The sound is
Gonna
going,
whet your appetite, and you're gonna.
This is going to be on YouTube, this meeting.
And we-
So I want people to listen to the YouTube,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
Reg,
so,
Reg,
anything
your
else?
speaking is all
Yeah.
distorted.
It is, yeah. Unfortunately, we're doing our Wi-Fi over a hotspot because the Wi-Fi in the room doesn't work here.
Oh,
So,
it sounds good
yeah.
now.
okay, well, let us know and we'll repeat. I get a little notice on the screen here saying your connection is unstable. We also have this big honking thunderstorm going by, as everybody around here knows here. Just finished up, so hopefully things will get a little bit better. And we can put my phone up on the window or something like that. I see Ross, Donald, oh, did you have something to say? Go ahead.
I would like to
And then
see,
Lost next.
Sue brought up a good point, and it's the same thing where I live down on the other side, Linden Chambers area. People aren't always connected in getting the right information regarding the development, and there's a lot of misinformation floating around. That's quite frankly making a lot of the tenants paranoid and afraid.
Yeah,
And it's bad enough that, you know, everybody has something on their plate, a lot of people suffer from anxiety anyway.
yeah,
And they're just a lot of people lighting matches underneath of that. And fueling a fire that doesn't need to happen. So my request is tonight is to come up with a creative way to engage a lot of tenants to show up at Linden Chambers, perhaps a little picnic that we can do and combine it with a little bit of laid back type thing.
mhm,
After the meeting or before the meeting
Yeah.
to relax folks. And I don't like to see and hear that, people still viewing the, I won't go into the petty details, but,
mhm,
it's not enemy against, you know, people against people.
mhm,
And somebody, I think, mentioned that, I work for, housing and I'm more interested in them than the tenants. I think my record speaks for that. The 3 years I was president, the things that, the staff here, both staffs, or 3 staffs told me they never saw before. All the events that we did and all the things that we accomplished, other people may have not got that far. And plus I've given time to the community for the human rights and so forth, but my point here is misinformation just fuels a fire, and if we get people to relax, they love food, they'll come out for food. And maybe we'll have some kind of a relaxed approach to this. So they don't view us this way and that way, and my point is, it's not foe and friend and enemy and all that, it is called collaboration.
mhm.
In order to make things work, you have to see both and say, let's understand what the situation is. Let's educate ourselves as to what the law says for both sides of the aisle. And then we can work together. And that's the same thing in the grandstand of the presidency. We see it all the time. Collaborate gets things done. So
So,
let's.
sounds like a good suggestion. What do you think, Gerald? Should we do a Linden Street, Linden Chambers one? Then we have Ross, Donald here. Ross, we should be able to hear you. So
Yes.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Ross, you might have something to say about having an additional tenants meeting too, about what's going on down at Linden Chambers.
Right. Well, the Linden Chambers Residents Association held its second general meeting. We increased the attendance. We're up to 22, 23 people yesterday. And we had a quorum, which was 15, a little bit more than a quorum, actually, even though we didn't have a cooling space. We didn't, and it was really very hot. We still managed to get together. I think that's a sign that people were interested, and we can get them out on occasion if there's consistency and we can offer reliable kind of information and so on. And housing authority's been really helpful. I think having the robocall, any kind of promotion, there's got to be a multiple kind of angles, approaches, deliveries, reaching people online, posters, flyers. I still maintain that half of our people don't have an adequate internet access. Now we're trying to work on that with tablets and everything, but I will say that I do have, in accordance with Margarita's excellent letter, which set the kind of path for us, the things that we had to do as an organization to get recognized as an LTO. So I have the letter. One of the things was the letter from the Residents Association requesting recognition. So I have that. And I can send all these things by email. I was hoping to be there tonight, but with the rain and everything else, I'm not going to be there. But this will probably be the day that I can either get it emailed or physically delivered, written copy, I think Margarita referred to. So if it's written by email or digitally, I don't know whether that qualifies, but we've got a paper copy here. And it's requesting that the Needham Housing Authority accept this grant for request to be recognized as a local tenants organization. And I'm referring to a copy of the bylaws, which we developed. And we have an interesting addition that we feel is going to be acceptable, and that's providing a proxy kind of vote. If a person can't make it, they really want to be there, they can deliver a proxy that's notarized, and it would be delivered into the hands of the secretary. So it'd become an administrative kind of thing. It's not an instance where one person takes a proxy vote and uses it to gain more influence within the organization. The idea is to provide a participation by proxy, a quorum by proxy, and it would be at the direction of the person that can't make it. So that's the only really new thing. The rest of the bylaws are all pretty much, I don't know, boilerplate kinds of things. Basically, it's what we used last year, and what was used for years. So,
Did you get the bylaws passed? Are they approved now?
Yes, we've had. This is our second
Are the
meeting.
bylaws approved?
We had a quorum. Yes, yeah,
Great. I'm
and we
looking
can
forward to
provide some
seeing them.
numbers.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing them. And on Helen's suggestion that we schedule a residents meeting sooner rather than later, do you agree with that?
Well, we're meeting once a month, so we'll make it an agenda item as to
I think
whether we want to have.
she was suggesting that we meet, have a meeting and try to do a whole all hands on deck to get as many residents to come just on the Linden Street redevelopment project is what she was talking about just before you came, before you.
No, I heard what she said. Helen is an excellent organizer. She can certainly get out a lot of people, but I'm going to have the Linden Chambers Residents Association lead the way on this. If we have a meeting, we'd like to decide how we want to run it, whether we want to invite the developers or somebody else. We certainly want to keep track of what's going on. And
that's fine, but I'm just asking you if you think it's a good idea to have a meeting sooner rather than later on what's going on update wise on the redevelopment.
Yes.
Whenever and however you do it, yes.
Well, I'm going to bring it before the Linden Chambers Residents Association. I'm not going to do it because you want to do it or Helen wants to do it or anybody else, frankly. I'm glad you're interested. There have been presentations, but I think they've been inadequate. They've been more opportunities to lecture the residents. So I think we need to figure out what we want to see and then invite you.
Go ahead and talk and get back to us about
Sure.
whether you think it's a good idea, okay? Great. Yes, Helen.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a
I've told you what pardon me?
I would like to
Wait a minute,
see
yeah,
a copy of the finished bylaws. Because somebody I know that went said there was no header on
well,
the
we'll
example.
get
that
a
it
copy.
wasn't filled in.
We'll get it, let's get a copy. Everybody needs copies, actually, so.
Yeah,
Right,
there was a copy on the bulletin board, which was a sample sort of pro forma model copy, which I gave to Jill Rutherford because she was interested. That's been edited, and we have a Google Docs version, which is probably the most up-to-date version. And I expected to come tonight, so I printed out that copy. And Helen can make a request for any
Great.
information. She can come to meetings and so forth. We want to make it available online, in print.
No, actually, what you need to, excuse me a second, what you need to do is to send the official copy to Cheryl. I think that is the procedure here, as the executive director said.
Yeah.
This is the official copy that's been approved at such and so board meeting or when it says meeting. Isn't that how it's done, Cheryl?
And a request for recognition.
Yeah.
Those two items.
Those two items. So if you can get that in
Yeah,
as quickly as possible,
yeah, I
that would be good.
Yeah. As I was trying to say, I have the letters prepared here. The letter, it's
Yeah.
from Linden Chambers Residents Association to the Needham
Super.
Housing Authority, care of the executive director, Cheryl Gosman, and it's regarding the written request for recognition. And it refers to
We'll
votes
get
that
it
were
from you
taken.
tomorrow. Get
Yeah.
it from you tomorrow, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been a satisfying effort. We've been playing it slow and steady. It took 1.5 years. I recall that when Penny Kirk did it, it was done by the Housing Authority totally. It took about 5 months.
Good
And I
going,
used
and,
actually some of the model letters that Penny, she wrote an excellent letter, for instance, requesting it was all to the residents, 3-4 page letter explaining what the bylaws were about, and that she was
Ross,
requesting
that is
of the
so
housing
not
authority.
true. That is so not true. I had a copy of our bylaws from years before. I had Jack from Mass Union out to my
Wait,
home.
wait,
Cheryl
wait,
Gosman was there.
Janice,
That's not
everybody.
Janice,
true.
Janice, please.
Excuse me,
Janice,
everybody.
could I speak?
Excuse me,
Could I
everybody.
speak, please? Could I speak? Janice, what
No,
are you saying that I said
I
was not true?
wish you to stop, Ross, please, because I didn't intend for this to get into a debate. I just wanted to get
Well, I
your
didn't intend to have
announcement.
a debate either.
And
I
I'm
speak?
sorry,
I
but
was
they can't
referring
have a
to,
debate. I'm sorry, we can't have a debate right now because it's not on the agenda. But listen.
well, I don't know what you're debating.
Please get the bylaws in. Maybe somebody can pick them up tomorrow, and that's great. I just want to congratulate you, okay?
Yeah. Well,
All right.
yeah, Janice, if there's something I said that was objectionable, I have the letter that Penny sent out. It's an
Now,
excellent piece
excuse
of
me,
work.
Ross, you're out of order. Do not debate Janice. Please, I'm gonna mute you now, okay?
Well, I have some comments
you.
about previous.
Sorry, but we've gone about 8 minutes now.
All right.
I
Okay.
mean,
Well,
is
thank you very much.
there, either.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye. Regular agenda item A. And we have before us another gigantic bill schedule check warrant of $676,190.80. Is that right?
Yes, and that warrant includes our deposit from government for section 8. our checks from
Yay.
section 8, our payroll,
Yeah.
includes our 8 accounts payable receipts,
Mhm.
payments, totaling
Mhm.
$676,190.80.
There. Okay. So I make a motion that we approve this bill
Second,
schedule check warrant. Second from Janice. Any questions from any of the commissioners on any of the payments in there? Hearing no questions, I will call the roll to approve this bill schedule check warrant. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
That's unanimously approved. Thank you. Now I'm on A2. We have more modest $32,450.13 for High Rock Homes LLC bill schedule and check warrant. I will make a motion to approve that. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second from Janice. Any questions for our executive director on those expenditures? Hearing none, I will call the roll again. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And that is approved. Okay, we next have the minutes of the July 9th, 2024 regular board meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
That's
I
a
make a
move.
motion to approve.
Motion by Jim, second by Penny, I think. Any comments or corrections or anything? One thing we can count on these days when nothing else works like the internet in this room is having wonderful minutes that don't take us any time to approve. Thank you very much, Cheryl. Yeah. I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Okay, and did we get the 7:18 minutes?
7:18 minutes.
The minutes of July 18th?
Yes, the regular
2024.
board meeting minutes, that's
Yeah.
what you just approved.
No, the 7:9 is, I think, what we approved.
7:09 is
Yeah.
special meeting, and then we approved the 7:18.
Yeah, the others are.
Okay, that's right, okay. Thank you. And any motion to approve those, please?
Second,
I guess.
So moved.
Any comments on those minutes here? Hearing none, I will call the roll again. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Okay, we are now in agenda item C, Executive Director's Report for information discussion, and lots of things going on. Policy City today, this
Yeah.
month here, but
Lots of things. We've got our
Why don't you-
financial report, which is pretty straightforward. We are below in our reserves for our state program. We are at 28%. So we're working with, I'm working with Shaw, fee accountant, and applying for some administrative fee money from the state for our capital programs that we've been working on. So hopefully we'll get that back into our account. We have not yet received the payment from the state for the lawsuit that they agreed to help us out with. So we have to continue to pursue that. We're sort of overspent in some of our routine maintenance for the state program, but that's because of a lot of turnover and a lot of work that needs to be done on those old units. But, you know, we're doing the best we can and we're plugging along. I'm not sure if anyone has questions about the financial report.
any questions from the commissioners? I think we're good.
And then there's the monthly management report, which I renamed monthly vacancy and work order report. And that's the only change here, you know, the certain work orders that, you know, get reported on a daily basis, and we have 24 hours to complete them. If we can't complete them in 24 hours, they're scheduled for, I can't think of the term, but we put them in a different category for completion. But these are the work orders that were called in and completed. We do have some vacancies at Seabed's Way. You can see that at Seabed's Way, we have 2, and then in July, we had 1. And Linden Chambers, we constantly, well, we don't want to say we constantly, but we continue to have vacancies there, due to various reasons, and our guys do a great job of turning those units around. So
I have
I'm
a
not sure if
question.
there's-
I would just note on that, yeah, go ahead, Janice.
On the
Go
vacancies
ahead,
at Chambers,
Janice.
okay, on the vacancies at Chambers, Cheryl, are they now being, I want to say, withheld for possible the conversion that may happen down the road?
Not yet. No, we haven't done that yet. We're turning them
Okay.
over as fast as we
Okay,
can.
Let
that's
me
all.
just refresh everybody's memory on that, okay, which is, that won't start until we get advanced permission from EOHLC, number one, so, and we can't apply for advanced permission from EOHLC until we actually get the financing to do the phase 1A part of the redevelopment project. And the very earliest, if we are really lucky, that we would get the financing isn't much before the end of next spring, 2025, and it may be 2026. So that prospect of not renting vacant units isn't going to start anytime soon, not for 6 months at the very minimum, and it's unlikely we're going to get financing in that first round. So just wanted to refresh everybody's memory on that, but excellent question. So
Thank
I
you.
would also want to note that I got my little trusty calculator out, and that we have a overall vacancy rate of 2.2%. And across our 336 units, and it just doesn't get any less than that, So
Yeah.
at 316 units, I should say, you just can't have anything less than that.
Janice did a great job.
So congratulations to your team.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. What's not in the, in your packet is the agent report. I think I sent that out to you electronically. I did bring hard copies for folks if they need a copy of that. But that's our agent report. There are some large balances, as you can see, past 91 days. And we're working with our, legal firm to address those concerns. The next item is which also, we came to on the separate cover is the, rents charge and rents received during the month of, July. And also you have your, tenants accounts receivables quarterly report. I don't know if there are any questions on that.
Any questions, anybody?
Yep, that's the quarterly, and the quarterly operating statements. I think I duplicated the 689 operating statements. I apologize for that. You did get 2 copies of that in your packet, and
Before, I was
good.
happy to see it here.
We submitted that in the HLC's
Mhm.
accounting module monthly, and so this is the quarterly piece of it that we do, and it's been reported.
Any questions, anybody?
Okay.
Before
So,
we go on to policies, you asked me to remind you, if you didn't think of it, that talk to the fiscal year 2025 budget guidelines, guidance that just came in yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
It's like
so
last 48 hours.
we got a really great gift from Governor Healy under the Public Housing Notice 24-13 fiscal year 25 Local Housing Authority Budget Guidelines. And my fee accountant shared with me some of the tidbits. He actually called me a couple of days ago when this first came out, and he said, "Cheryl, the guidelines are out." He says, "I'm really excited about it. There are some excellent opportunities for housing agencies for their staff."
Is that
so
about the
staff-
salaries?
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
saw that.
Yes, and what excites me the most about this, our salary will, our staff will get up to a 12% increase. But also maintenance will be able to get this increase as well. And through the years, they've only got Department of Labor and Industry rate. So their increase was driven by that. We had no authority to give them anything higher or less. We had to go by Department of Labor and Industry standards. So we can couple this 12% along with their labor and industry standard rate. And I just want to toot my own horn because I did speak at the Temple Beth Shalom in the winter about how the job that our maintenance staff do. They're at the they're in the trenches, they're at the ground level. They take goodness and kindness and they do a lot in a humane way, a very humane way. And they really do a good job. It's only 5 people dealing with aging buildings. So I'm excited for that.
And
then-
aging people.
And then our annual, and I can never pronounce that word, annual has been increased as well by 12%, I believe. So this is a good news story for public housing agencies. There have been a lot of advocacy and a lot of traffic out there to the governor and her staff, the importance of funding in a sustainable way, public housing authority state budgets. So this is a good news story. I'm happy to share this with my staff. They're gonna get it good.
Well, and
Increase.
it helps us with retention,
It helps. us with
because, you know, we have to
retention.
compete, you know, we'll lose our good people to the
Yeah.
private sector if we can't be offered competitive
Or-
wage.
Or other housing authorities
And
that have larger budgets.
Even
than
though
ours.
we're trying to redevelop Linden Street, we're still gonna have Chambers Street
Yeah.
for another good 5 or 10 years here, and there's particularly the parking lots out there. I've been out there a couple, 3 times lately, and, you know, I'm really hoping that this increase, 12% increase in annual, will translate in some real dollars that we can really, you know, take care of something like that. Because it's really, you know, it's just not up to snuff. We all know that. And you know how we really know that? Every time I drive in here. I know.
It's such a pleasant drive.
You know, it's like, okay, you know, we gotta treat everybody the same. So we really gotta find the money to get that,
Yeah.
get that paving done over there in Chambers Street here, so.
I didn't
All right,
realize how
anything
bad
else?
it was over there until just recently. They really needed, they needed it as bad as we did, so
They do.
I hope that
Seabed
comes
and
to
Cook-
fruition.
Yeah, I warn everybody who lives at Seabed and Cook, don't go over there because you'll get PTSD from just trying to drive through that parking lot here, so. Yeah.
You gotta let you gotta let residents know in plain English when they can expect to get it done, not when, you know, ultimately you might get the money for it, it might be in 6 months, it might be in a year, but that's. You gotta, some repairs have to be made yesterday.
Yeah.
Over there.
Thank you, yeah, and in terms of the overall fixing of it, obviously you can't do it in the middle of winter, so it, you know, it's going to be a summer 2025 type project.
Well, then
where
let them know.
We can get the money. Well,
Pavement, no, the pavement.
Yeah,
That's
the
what I'm
pavement.
talking about.
okay, next, we have, we've had a
So,
policy.
yeah, do you want to tackle the policies?
Let's do that.
Okay, sure. So these are really just for review, comment, you know, regarding the pet policy. In particular, pet policy needed a lot of updates. We took a course, a workshop, an online workshop on updating pet policies. This is, we've also worked with our RAB board and got a lot of feedback from them about what works, what doesn't work. Typically, the housing authorities lease says that the basic policy is not to keep pets. So, you know, really, pets really are not allowed, but you can have a pet. The lease also says you can have a pet with permission. And so if permission is granted, these are the guidelines that would fall under. And it's important that I have this policy approved as part of our annual plan. That the plan submission that the RAB board and I and Margarita are working on. And it also is going to help us with enforcement. We have situations here that need to be enforced. And so the pet policy will allow us to be able to remind folks about their responsibility in having a pet.
Are you asking board members to review this and get comments to you, or what are you asking?
Well, yes, I think my goal with submitting policies to you, which will be coming more frequently, is that the first pass would just be included in the packet for your review. And if you have any questions, certainly email me individually, or you could make those comments known at our next meeting.
So what I'm thinking is that a board member should email you,
Individually.
and you should give a deadline, like a week or a week and a half or something like
That
that.
sounds great.
Such and so deadline.
Mhm.
And then I think the role you can play is to take all the suggestions and produce the final draft.
Mhm.
And then the next meeting, we can approve it. If that
That
works
sounds
for
great.
you.
That sounds really
So what
good.
deadline do we have for this and the other policies we're going to talk about here?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, that's a great idea, Reg, but and it may take longer than getting things back to me before the next board meeting or
Well, not just
before
before.
our RAB board meeting.
If we, you have to go through the RAB.
We are meeting with the RAB. These will be a part of our annual plan that we have to submit to HUD.
Right.
And so it's hard to put a deadline on that.
So what I found with a life worth of experience is if there isn't a deadline and everybody puts it on their manana pile and that
Yeah.
doesn't do something. So,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about an unreasonable deadline, but I know our board meeting is late next month. It's the 19th.
Mhm.
It's about as late as it can be. So today is the 15th. If we do the 22nd, if everybody gets their comments back to you by September 5th or 6th, the end of that week, does that work for everybody in terms of having enough time? And then you can
I wanted to make a suggestion also. I think there's
Yeah.
more policies in there. I'm ahead of the game because I was in on the comment period. I'm on the RAB board. But
Yeah.
if we do one policy a week, get the comments in by that particular date, Reg, we should be all set by the following month, October.
Okay. So you're saying you think that's a good date that I just said, right?
September
The 5th of September,
Okay.
Speak or forever hold your peace kind of thing here, okay?
Well, I don't know that it really needs to be that regimented, I think. The RAB board, we meet every Monday, and so.
No, I'm talking about just commissioner.
Exactly, so the RAB board meets every Monday,
Yeah.
so if the commissioners could get these comments to me, like, by the end of the week, every week, that would be helpful. for the RAB.
We have 4 policies.
That's correct.
So I was giving enough time for everybody to get all 4 policies to you, but we can do it in a week.
Yeah, I mean, if you're.
I mean, you can pick a date, is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
You don't
well,
like my date, pick
I
another
know,
date.
I don't like your date, and
All
if they could get me their comments before the weekend until,
This weekend,
before the weekend, so
okay,
until
you're tough.
August 30th.
Pick a date.
So I'd like to have everything in place by that Friday, August 30th.
All right, the date is August 30th. Does everybody feel they
So
can get
they
comments
could
to you?
send them to me individually,
Yeah, that's right.
randomly,
Yeah.
by August 30th.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Okay,
Comments on this pet policy.
Wow, Cheryl, you're strict.
I know, she's tough.
Well, we meet every Monday and.
No, don't respond. I'm just giving you a hard time.
But we are not meeting next Monday.
Right, because I'm in a
So
training.
it'll give some time.
Yes, sir.
And what would be helpful to me, maybe other board members, as stuff like this comes up, is email us a reminder, calendar deadline for anything you need. Those are huge helps to me.
That would be great if I was that organized, Jim. I will try my best.
That's it.
I can't even answer an email,
All right. I'll send.
but I'll do my best. Red will send out reminders.
So, the 30, everybody, the 30th, okay?
Yeah.
And by the way, I thought the pet policy was pretty good, so I don't think it's like a major surgery thing. And I just actually went back into my Wayback Machine. Who knows what a Wayback Machine is?
I do.
Okay, all right. Cause I have a Wayback Machine here and got the original, this pet policy has not been updated since 2009 or before. You were there, see?
Rich, we did that policy. And we submitted it in, and you have a committee.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there should be a copy somewhere in.
And I think, well, I think it is the one I got, but I know, but all I'm just saying is, good for you, bravo. You gotta have up-to-date policies and so forth, so. I didn't think there was I didn't have any sort of massive changes, and I think we should be able to do the 30th, if that works for you the best.
Okay, and this will be a policy that will be housing authority wide.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
policies should be
Yeah.
as best we can, unless DHCD doesn't let us do it.
Yeah.
Which we're about to find out about here, so, next policy is,
That's a tougher one.
yeah,
Deceased tenant policy.
so what's the background on this?
And so the background on this was, it had come to my attention that there was sort of this, fly-by-night situation with residents when they passed away. Their units were not locked up. People were going in and out of the units. And, there were other things that I can't say in a public meeting that I discovered was happening. And that alerted me to a workshop that was held by the SMETA group, which is a group of Southeast directors that meet monthly to learn things about the agency and how to manage things and policy updates, et cetera. And I was impressed by the presentation, and I really was concerned for the agency, for any liability to the agency. If we don't do anything to protect ourselves, someone can go in and say, well, you didn't secure my loved one's belongings, you knew they passed away and nothing was done. So-and-so had a key and was able to go in and take whatever they wanted. So really, this is just me trying to protect the agencies, the liability of the agency against being sued for something that, may disappear. This goes even further than that. We also need to extend this or add to this what happens when people pass away or go into a nursing home and they have no loved ones to help clean out their units or dissolve their estate. So this will address that as well. And then in addition to this, is an indemnification form that residents will need to fill out as well. And it will probably need to be updated as we go along. This is not set in stone, but this is an attempt to get a hold of some of those concerns of mine about what happens when a tenant passes away. So currently what we're doing is we change the lock immediately on the doors. And so the relatives have to contact us and say, how can I get my loved one's things? And I've been advising them to petition the court to become the personal representative of the estate so that they can go in and get items out of the loved one's unit. It's not an ideal situation for everyone. So, we also have to have some kind of addendum to that because not everybody is here. I had a family come all the way from Ireland to, put their loved one to rest. And they can't stay for the amount of time that it's going to take to clean out the unit. So, you make decisions, but mostly to hold Needham Housing Authority harmless against any effect.
Would you like a copy? Housing asked residents if they have that already from their attorney's paperwork that says this one is the executor.
So I think that.
Should we turn them in?
Yeah, I think this is only for tenants of the standard who do not already have a will. You know, this is, you know, and it's the
I don't know, just
problem, many,
like that.
many people
Yeah.
don't get around to doing it for psychological reasons. And so if they all of a sudden die on us, unfortunately, if we have a fiduciary responsibility is the way Cheryl explained it to me, but we don't have a policy saying how do we, you know, what do we do in those circumstances? And I guess you learned this in this seminar you went to.
Yeah, very eye-opening.
And then we've had, you know, people do pass away from time to time. It's, you know, part of our business is we, you know, our customers are older folks, and that happens. And so, unless you have something more to
I just want to add one other thing. I probably will contact Jonathan because this is going to take some time. We may not, this is not part of the annual plan. This is just an agency plan that I'd like to initiate. It's not part of the plans that will be submitted to HUD for our annual plan. But I would like to talk with Jonathan more
Right.
about this in terms of, you know, making sure that it's as clear as possible. And there may be something I need to do before this is in place.
So are you looking for comments now? Are you, it's just an FYI that I've started this process and if you have comments, fine, but it's just a.
Yeah, of course. If you
Information
have
item,
comments,
yeah.
I do want to make you aware of this.
Okay.
This is the path we're going down, and at some point it will come to you fully vetted and prepared for your consideration.
Great, thank you. Now I'm going to interrupt your policies because I noticed that Matt has joined us here. And Matt, I'm going to, Matt Zajac, let me promote you. And panelist here. And because we're going to get into the grievance policy next, and that's always good for a discussion or two or three here. So Matt, can you hear us? And can we have a sound check from you?
Everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Great.
Yes,
Great.
So Matt, I let everybody know at the beginning of the meeting that you would be joining us around now and that we would take you out of order. We are in the middle of discussing several policy updates, and so that would definitely it would take some time. So I'm going to go to agenda item D. I'm going to skip over developer partner RP update for the moment, and I'm going to skip over the Linden Street redevelopment project for the moment. We'll come back to that in the regular order. And go to agenda item number 3. And agenda item numbers 4, first 3 bullets here. So the number 3 is the Seabeds Cook Preservation and Modernization Project, which is, you know, tangentially Matt can answer any questions about that, but we haven't done the presentation on that right now. But you have your CHA, you know, monthly report there. And so agenda item 4 is the section 22 repositioning. There's a proposed task order 5 there. And then there's an accompanying CHA intergovernmental agreement memo. These all went out yesterday late. I apologize to the board. And then there's a third item that's you know, semi-unrelated, which is an excess capital reserve withdrawal that we're planning to do, but we would like the board to be on board with that and approve that. So Matt, you can take that in any order that makes sense to you, and go for it.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks everyone. I can't tell if I am on video, so apologies if I'm not.
You're not on video, no. Yeah.
Okay.
But you should be able to be on video if you want, or
up to you all. So I will, I think maybe first just open it for any questions there are on the general Seabeds Cook section 22 project updates for the month. was a productive month in terms of advancing the schematic design. We did start to get rumblings that HUD may be considering some edits to the Section 22 program. And we're tracking those as best we can using our legal counsel. So they're kind of the headlines for this month. Any questions?
Yes, I'll
No.
go. You
Go
just
ahead,
mentioned,
Jess.
you just mentioned updates. So does that mean that we really can't make an informed decision about, you know, what we need or what's going to happen? Because there may be new changes down the road, like there was, with when we decided to go for the RAD 18, and then they changed and added things for the Section 22. Are there gonna be changes to that effect coming up, where we may wanna make another change, Matt?
Yeah, so we are pushing ahead with the current strategy. Currently, we don't want to slow down the design or the financing at all. But to your point, it may be that HUD issues a notice saying that they are modifying the program. We intend to advocate for our submitted application to be considered in its current form. We submitted it under the existing policy before it had changed, and we're going to be, arguing to continue on that way, regardless of what happens with HUD. Just wanted to give you all sort of the wins that we at CHA are hearing through our HUD contacts. And we're going to keep you updated in the coming months as we hear anything. HUD can be notoriously slow, so we don't know if or when any official information will come out. In the meantime, it's full steam ahead with Seabeds and Cook and High Rock using the current plan, because it is still an active policy, and we think it's still the best way to reposition the portfolio.
And is it a possibility, Matt, that they may take away the fair cloth for Section 22?
I don't think they're going to take away the fair cloth on Section 22. You're still going to be able to access the fair cloth. What they might do is impose new requirements for the project. So, for instance, on the Section 18 program, you may recall that there were certain amounts of construction you had to do to prove that the property could work for 20 years. HUD might impose a new requirement like that to the Section 22 program, but that is all sort of speculation at this point. You'll still have access to your fair cloth, though.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Any other questions for Matt on that? Go ahead, Matt.
All right, I'm gonna go to the requested release from mass housing for the High Rock now. So this is a memo that outlines the High Rock accounts have a reserve that for several years NHA has not taken distributions from that you were allowed to do each year based on a formula that mass housing set in the regulatory agreement. You're allowed to take excess reserves out, and then those excess reserves can be used for whatever purpose NHA wishes to put them to, such as supporting your development projects. So over the last couple of months, NHA, your accountants, and CHA worked with mass housing to determine how much funding could be released from that account. It's a sum of several $100,000. So we have just issued an informational memo letting you know that that release is going to be requested. All of that funding is going to be rolled over into supporting the modernization project at Seabeds and Cook. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, is this the money you want to take out of the High Rock LLC reserve?
That is correct.
Yep. $365,764 after several meetings, many meetings with the accountants, the auditors, and Mass Housing. We are eligible to take it out. It still leaves very healthy operating and capital reserves in High Rock Homes LLC. It's just piled up in the last 15 years, and we haven't been taking anything out. And there's very complicated rules on what you can and can't take out and when, and that's all been vetted as sort of explained in this memo. And if we approve doing this, that letter that's in the very last page is, Cheryl will sign that, and in due course, $365,764 will be transferred into our accounts here at the Housing Authority. And the plan is, when we get to the budget, PRI budget update, is to use that to continue supporting what we're doing with Seabeds and Cook in terms of the modernization and preservation of all the units.
Was that directed to me, Reg?
Everybody, I would say.
Everybody, okay, well, in looking at the reserve report for this month, it looked like about, I don't know, 860,000 for the reserve in the LLC, Ira.
It's in several different buckets, I think. If I think you know which one you're looking at, are you looking at the Rick Shaw one?
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to actually look at the 2023 audit financials to really see where it's coming from rather than Rick's. We can, you have.
no,
a
I
copy of
think
that.
I looked at the end of all budget.
Yeah,
I saw about 860, give or take.
but what I learned is there's 100 pages of agreements about this and complicated auditing and accounting rules, and we sat down, and wrote letters back and forth and had meetings with Mass Housing, who ultimately makes the decision as to what we're eligible to withdraw and what has to stay behind.
And what is that percentage?
It's a formula, and there are actually more details that we can supply to you if you'd like, but it's sort of summarized in this letter or this memo here on how it's calculated in the second to last page here.
But no, just the reason I'm asking is because if those are they're not duplexes, they're up and down apartments, right?
They're side by side duplexes.
So possibly if one unit gets damaged, it could possibly be two. If it's water or something related. So I just like to say I don't want to see that reserve drained any more than maybe a third. I'm just because.
Matt, do you have a feeling of how much reserves are left? I don't have my files with me here.
So there'll still be several $100,000 in reserves, and a general rule of thumb on the amount of reserves to maintain an account is 6 months of operating expenses and any debt service you have. So I think the reserve really comfortably carries that. To your, which I think is a really good point about sort of damages that might come from water or fire. We just note that your insurance policies will help to cover any of that, right? So you'd have sort of two sources of funds coming in, an insurance payment from any sort of damage you had, plus the ability to use this reserve. What the reserve is more intended to fund, rather than like a damage from a flood, is if you've got sort of larger routine maintenance projects, a roof, or you need to replace a heater. And I know that Cheryl keeps a really close eye on those sorts of expenses, and the goal really isn't to drain down the account to the minimum.
Does that address your question, Jan?
Well, it gives me an indication, but you can never foresee the future. So, I just don't want to leave us short down the road, Reg.
Mhm. Well, one of the things that we were going to do anyway is to ask for a vote here. And certainly it is something we can postpone the vote, but and get you an exact number of how much in reserves is left. If that's you'd like to know the answer to that. And
Well,
we're
I'd
not-
be interested in hearing from some of the other commissioners as well.
Any other comments here or questions?
I support the recommendation as is.
I support it also. It sounds like there'll be a healthy amount left. And we can really use it. We can use the withdrawal.
Ed?
My feeling is that the state is going to require us to maintain what they deem to be a
That's it.
useful reserve. And if we have a surplus, it certainly should go toward our
Renewal project.
initiative. So I would support the withdrawal.
Well, then,
Cheryl, of course, you're the one on the hot seat, of course, with the buck stops here sign on your desk. What do you
Yes, and
think?
there's a letter that has been drafted by me. And it does say, Janice, on that first page that thereafter 170,255 will remain in the excess equity escrow account. So that should answer your question about what will be left.
okay, well, I just wanted to vet the commissioners because the money's going to be coming my way where I live. So, the residents from across town can't blame me. So,
We, having sat in on these meetings, I was very impressed that the financial agreements and the mortgages and everything else absolutely have us in a straitjacket on making sure that we have enough funds, a generous amount of enough funds in the remaining reserve to cover any conceivable contingency. And we had to have a big multi-month debate with them on how much that was. And they were very specific about it, and it's very arcane, the way the calculations are done. And I was convinced myself that we're not risking anything over at High Rock Homes LLC. Especially, because of Matt's point with insurance policies, if something happens that is a fire or flood or a tree falling on a roof or something like that, then we got covered, we got a lot of insurance that we pay for every month, every year for that. So I'm happy with it as well. I think the sense of the commissioners, we can do a vote on this unless anybody has any more questions for Matt. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve this? I guess I will, Andy will.
I'll move it.
Move it from Jim. Do I have a second? Penny, any further discussion? I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Okay, that's approved 5-0. Great.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to, Matt, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the task order 5 first or the extension, or do you want to just go to the closeout memorandum, whichever? I guess that goes, probably precedes it here.
Yeah, I think the closeout memorandum touches on everything, so I can walk through that. But just a clarification question from me, Reg, first. Are we doing any votes on these tonight, or is this just informational today?
If the board is comfortable with what's been presented, and we've been remiss, and there's a lot of balls in the air when we got these board memos out to them yesterday. But if the board's comfortable voting tonight on them, then I think we should.
All right. So thanks everyone for your time today. What we're going to be looking at is the memorandum from Margaret to the board dated August 13th. Before we dive into it, I do want to just throw out a blanket apology related to admin matters. Many of the elements of this memo are catching up on routine administration of the intergovernmental contract between Needham Housing Authority and Cambridge Housing Authority. We are committed to sort of more timely management of the contract fundamentals in the future, and appreciate your patience with us as we still continue to understand how to operate the consulting practice. So with that preamble, this memo puts forward 4 items for your consideration, and I'll walk through those one by one. The first item is a request for an extension of the term of the intergovernmental agreement. You may recall that the intergovernmental agreement for consulting had a 1-year term, and it was intended that we would reauthorize it every year. And so to my preamble about admin matters falling through the cracks, we haven't been authorizing those extensions each year. So for the avoidance of doubt, we're now asking for the use of several extensions in order to bring the term of the agreement to July 12th, 2026. So I'm going to pause after each item and just take any questions. Are there any questions about the extension of the term of the agreement?
I want to ask why.
Just in general, why extend it?
Yeah, so for such a long period of time, when contracts usually go, I don't know, 6 months to a year.
Sure, I think the reason to
I can
extend
go
it.
in. Go ahead, Matt. I was going to jump in because you weren't there at the beginning. So when we put out the RFP and we hired CHA in midsummer of 2021, we signed an agreement that basically said we will go forward with task order number 1. And as a matter of administrative practice, we would formally extend it every year for another year or more than another year. And instead, what we did was we approved additional task orders 2, 3, and 4, but didn't do the administrative step of formally approving the extension of the overall agreement. Now, by inference or by implication, obviously, we were extending it, but we didn't actually formally do that. And we approved these task orders to expend additional funds that turned into the Linden Street redevelopment project, and which turned into the Seabeds Cook modernization preservation project, and did some other things along the way, which is all summarized in this memo. And the memo is sort of written to kind of capture all of the deliverables that have been done. And we approved task orders 2, 3, and 4 effective July 1st, 2022, when we should have also been extending the agreement for another year, but it was an oversight, and for which Matt, and I also apologize, Matt shouldn't take all the blame on that. We also had change over 2 or 3 executive directors as we went along the ways, and we actually had a little minor once in a 100-year COVID pandemic going on. So there was a lot of moving parts going on as well. But it's not extending it, it's basically retroactively acknowledging what we've already done up to date, where here we are in 2024. And then the proposal to the board, you can't extend it more than 5 years. So July 13th, 2026 is as long as it can be extended. And so the proposal here for the board is to retroactively approve the extension, to recognize what we've already done, all these deliverables that have been delivered in good faith by everybody with a
Okay,
incredibly
Reg,
great-
I get it. I've been here since 21, but
Yeah.
I hadn't realized we had overlooked the Charles contract.
I don't think anybody realized it until Matt, the new kid on the block, brought us to our attention. I don't know how it came up, Matt, but, you know, here we are.
I realized
Okay.
as I was getting oriented, I hadn't extended any of the contracts for our clients, so this was a sort of a systemic thing that we need to catch up on.
So that's why, and we just said, let's just extend it to the 2026, because we know we're going to be doing the Seabeds and Cook project and this section 22 repositioning through into 2025 and into 2026 is when we're actually planning to do the construction for the Seabeds and Cook modernization.
Right.
And
Will
at
the
that
board get
point,
will the
at
board
that
get
point,
the contract?
We'll have to do a whole new intergovernmental agreement, but that, you know, we'll see where we're at a year from now, a year and a half from now. Okay,
All right, so I'm gonna go to point 2, that the memo deals with. Point 2 is the closeout of existing task orders 2, 3, and 4. So as Reg mentioned, what we've been doing to date is authorizing work on the basis of task orders. And a task order is basically a statement of the work that NHA is authorizing CHA to do. And in an ideal world, it also includes a budget for that work, although some of these did not include fixed budgets. So task order 2 is general consulting for the PRI initiative. So that's covered funding for things like Chris maintaining the PRI budget, weekly meetings with NHA to work on high-level issues, the High Rock Homes reserve account. That's the sort of work that's been happening under task order 2. Task order 3 has been the Seabeds and Cook preservation and modernization project. So all of the work we've been doing around schematic design, the initial RAD application, the section 22 application, that has been funded through task order 3. And then task order 4 was the redevelopment of Linden and Chamber Street. So this has been dormant for a few months, but it was funding all of our work on developing that project, getting the CPA and the zoning approvals earlier in the spring. At this time, we're asking to close out these 3 task orders because, and this is the third point in the memo, we're proposing to replace it with a new comprehensive task order that reflects how the scope of work for the project has changed. And essentially that's related to section 22 and Linden and Chambers, right? So this spring,
not Linden
CHA
Chambers.
Well,
Not
so
Linden, Seabeds Cook, right?
yeah, so Seabeds and Cook, at Seabeds and Cook, we've shifted the development strategy to be section 22, and that has involved an expansion of work to deal with High Rock. And similarly, we're no longer actively working on the Linden Chamber Street project. So that task order is dormant. I will pause here. Are there any questions about the closing of the existing task orders before I run through a description of what the new proposed task order is?
Yeah, I have a question. People keep saying Linden and Chambers, and it's not Chambers because nothing's getting done there. And I was under the impression that that was going to be part of the Linden, but it's not. So
It's a great point. So again, this kind of reflects why we think a new task order is needed. That task order was created at a time when we were creating an overall master plan for the site. So we were doing work thinking about what the eventual redevelopment of Chambers might be down the road. So there was some work related to Chambers there, but at a very high level, not very specific and building out a project like Linden Street. But it's also not something that CHA is actively working on anymore.
okay, well, we're gonna have a whole bunch more units, and I was just thinking, you know, if it's not gonna be Linden and Chambers, could the Chambers people move into the new Linden spots and then down the road redevelop that? I thought that was the plan, sort of. I guess I
So-
was,
I think you have it right. You know, describe it a little differently than Matt did. When we started in mid-2022, we did we hired an architect firm and went all the way through a schematic design level of development for both Linden Street and Chambers. So we have an idea of what could be done with Chambers. And partly that was really important because it's all one contiguous 11-acre site, and we had to go to the town for the zoning, as everybody knows. But
Yeah,
we also discovered when we did all the funding analysis for Linden and Chambers is there wasn't any chance of getting funding for everything. We could barely think about a path to getting the funding for redoing Linden Street, which is the older of the two developments. But it would be another $100 million that doesn't exist for Chambers Street. So back last October, we went forward with the town and said, we want to redevelop the whole place and we need the zoning for the whole thing. But we also said that given the funding climate at the time, and maybe it's changed with the Affordable Homes Act, I don't know, but we are going forward with the redevelopment of Linden Street first, which we probably want to do anyway. We can't do everything at the same time. And so that's how we got to the 136 apartments at Linden Street. And yes, I think if I was living in Chambers Street, I think I'm looking at somebody who lives at Chambers Street right across the room from me, is quite interested in moving into the new apartment at Linden Street when and if we get that, up and running. So that's definitely something down the road we have to think about.
well, good. I'd be glad if that could happen for some of those residents, because like my heart breaks, but you see something beautiful next door and you're stuck where you are.
Right.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah, and something to be addressed. So good point. Go ahead, Matt. Back to you here.
All right. So I'm going to bring us to point 3 on the memo. Point 3 is the proposal for the new task order number 5. At this point, if you're looking at your documents, you might find it helpful to flip over to the proposal letter to Cheryl, dated August 13th on CHA letterhead. So what this document does is it provides essentially the scope of work that CHA will be doing as your development consultant moving forward. And the proposed scope of work falls into 3 buckets. The first is Section 22 repositioning. So for Seabeds, Cook, and High Rock Estates, this is the application to HUD for the Section 22, the completion of any due diligence they ask us, and then the nuts and bolts of implementing that. Point 2 in scope of work is the preservation and modernization projects at Seabeds and Cook. And this is intended to be wraparound project management services. Something that you may notice as you're looking through the memo is that this scope of work is associated with a significant increase in the fee. And the reason for that is that it's funding a broad array of activities by CHA on your behalf. In particular, it's funding our coordination of and implementation of the relocation planning effort at Seabeds and Cook, and it is funding the construction administration of that project. Those are 2 pieces of scope of work that were not in previous task orders. So this is, just to restate it, it's a multi-year wraparound project management for this initiative that is intended to provide Needham Housing Authority with all of the services it needs to implement its vision for the project. It's kind of as if Chris and I are acting as Cheryl's planning and development department with respect to this project. The last piece of the scope of work in the new task order is closeout of the existing task orders. And this is just meant to capture that there's items that need to be done in order to close those out in a timely fashion. So that's things like transferring our documents related to Linden Street to the developer that Needham Housing Authority eventually selects. The document goes on to provide a detailed work plan and budget on all of these points. I'm happy to dive into any particulars of that plan that folks may have a question on. I'll just highlight that the overall fee is proposed to be $794,364. And that is, again, that is invoiced as costs are incurred. So it's not that we're going to invoice you for costs until they've happened. And additionally, the costs for this budget, particularly the seabeds and cook element, are largely captured within the project itself. So it's not that Needham Housing Authority needs to find from within its current bank accounts that amount of money. The project budget that we will assemble for seabeds and cook will fund the services on that site through finding funding sources like a private loan or various sources of subsidy. And at this point, I will pause for any questions about task order 5.
Any questions, anybody? I don't hear any. I want to just point out for everybody's benefit, you know, maybe obvious and implicit in what Matt said, but Cambridge Housing Authority has been working for us since day one on a time and materials basis. So they propose a scope of work. They make a good faith estimate as to what they think it's going to cost over the period of time based on that scope. And then we don't actually incur expenses until they actually put hours on a timesheet and send it in on invoice to Cheryl, and we pay for it there. But it does, you know, it's not a fixed price sort of thing. So for example, the section 1 repositioning, if you look at the budget that they projected for that, which is on page, oh no page numbers, oh, my least favorite thing. Damn, okay, unnumbered page. Don't do this to me anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4. So at the top of page 4, $37,502.50. I mean, this is based on not a large expense, but this is based on the assumption that we'll sort of be going through the section 22 plan as we've been envisioning it until we started getting these rumors that Matt spoke to at the beginning. And it may turn out that we have to jump through some more hoops. We just don't know. And you know,
Section TBD plan.
yeah, exactly.
Be determined.
On the other hand, and Matt's going to correct me if I've got anything wrong here, if we go right below that, yeah, 747,562 is basically, you know, what they project it will be to provide us all the services associated with project managing, overseeing, and getting a $16 or $17 million modernization and preservation project done for these buildings here we have here at Seabeds and Cook, which have been studied very thoroughly over the last couple of 3 years. And you know, again, while this is T&M, there might, and maybe Matt, I'm putting too many words in your mouth, but I think there's a, you know, leaving aside the uncertainties of section 22 changes, assuming that we navigate through all those. This is just like a project that's similar to the preservation and modernization projects they've done for other properties in Cambridge. And there's a, you know, I think what it's saying is of this, what will ultimately be, what would be the total cost of this? I can't remember, Matt. It's north of 30 million, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, you know, we'll be paying, you know, $750,000 for Cambridge staff who's done this many times before to make sure it gets done right and delivered correctly and it's on time and on budget in terms of the general contractor doing the construction and the work that the architecting and engineering firms and the other subcontractors are doing. Did I say anything wrong, Matt?
No, I think that's great, Reg, and I can transition into the last point on the memo unless there's any other questions.
Go ahead.
All right, so the fourth point, flipping back to the other memo, is to increase the total compensation under the intergovernmental agreement to $1.35 million. So this is related to two items. The first is the fee associated with the task order number 5. So a portion of this requested increase in compensation is to fund the scope of services that we discussed under task order 5. The other portion of this, the reason why the requested increase is not the same number as the budget in task order 5, is to clean up an administrative matter related to CHA billing in the past. So again, going back to our apology for sort of not catching these administrative things previously, you'll see at the bottom of page 4 of the memo a statement of related to CHA billing to date. And so just to read from this section a little bit, it says that $248,240.65 of the requested increase is the amount beyond $300,000 that CHA has invoiced to date for our services. So we previously had a budget for basic services of $300,000, but the effort involved with the consulting work to date has cost significantly more than that. The memo provides an overview of the work that we've done that was effort beyond what was anticipated. So it includes things like the CPA and zoning funding applications, which, as you all know, was a very extensive engagement effort. The fact we redesigned the Linden Street property as a result of extensive costs, the decision to pivot from a submitted RAD Section 18 application to a Section 22 application, and then just the fact that I think CHA underestimated the administrative work a little bit for the engagement. So collectively, these points have resulted in the request for compensation. I will say that we should have caught that the budget was over earlier and come to you with a request for it sooner. So that was an oversight that we will ensure does not happen again. Just looking again at this bottom of page 4, $65,000 of the increase is related to anticipated bills. So these are invoices related to the existing task orders that have not been submitted yet to Cheryl. And then the final element of the requested increase in funding, as we noted, is what is being proposed under task order 5. So collectively, overages on past invoices, pending invoices, and task order 5 equal the requested increase in funding of $1.35 million. So I will stop and take any questions.
So because you had the oversight, we have to pay, or can't we split it down the middle?
Well, good question. On the other hand, I think we've gotten tremendous value for the property. We're keeping 100% for the expenditures. We're keeping 100% of the value. And you know, it's, I think, the right thing to do when it's an administrative oversight. I mean, we do have a Linden Street project, you know, that's out there developer proposers, being considered, we'll be reporting on in a little bit here, and, we have a $16 million preservation and modernization project. We have $5.5 million of construction funds from the CPC and the town meeting, and we have our zoning, and we have a lot of stuff, and it's all enumerated there. And what was missing in task, I'm personally involved with this. I have more continuity than anybody has here. Cheryl's a new kid on the block here. Hard to believe, but really true. And, you know, what was missing in task order number 3, 2, 3, and 4, which are all signed, by the way, is something that says, and oh, by the way, we're extending the overall contract total, authorized total from 300,000 to 400,000. And then task order 4 said we're extending from 400,000 to 500,000. And I'm making, you know, rough numbers to illustrate. And task order 4 should say going from 500,000 to 600,000. And this is retroactively doing the same thing, and then saying we haven't approved them going forward with the section 22 in the seabeds cook preservation and modernization work that starts now, is going, you know, is in flight now, and will go for the next year or two. And that's the bulk of this. The 700, the 700 and some odd thousand here.
700.
Yeah, that part, if we don't approve it, then we can just stop doing these projects. You know, so I don't know if that's quite the right way of approving, going forward from here, but that's actually being presented on a timely basis to the
Right.
board.
Then if we don't vote on it, we can just stop the project.
We can hear you there, Penny. Any comments from anybody or questions here?
And vote for it, and that's it.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
Do you have a thought, Penny or Ed?
I was just saying, I'm all for voting on it and moving on.
Well,
All right, so I will make the motion that we approve the proposal is really what we're doing, which is to do all this cleanup and to close down task orders 2, 3, and 4, wrap them up, and replace it with task order number 5, which is spelled out in gory detail on these unnumbered pages here. Grumble, and then Cheryl and Matt, and you know, can get the contractual, you know, sort of documented all in task order number 5 here. Do I have a second on that?
second,
Second from Jim, but Penny, I think I saw your hand go up first, and I think as a matter of seniority, you get the photo finish here.
Okay,
All right, and any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Jim Flanagan votes aye.
Scheidler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Great, and I don't think we voted on did we vote to authorize you to go forward with the withdrawal of the?
On the
No.
excess of
Yeah.
40?
Yeah,
You did.
We
vote
did, okay.
on that. Yeah,
okay, just want to make sure I didn't miss that.
Jim moved it, Kenny seconded it.
Excellent,
Unanimous.
great. Any further questions for Matt before we let him go to his dinner here?
Thank you, Matt.
Matt,
Thank you,
thank
Matt.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
And
everyone.
Matt,
Have a great night.
please, we all worried about Margaret Moran, and we know she's been, you know, how's she doing?
Margaret's doing good. She, I am happy to report is she's taking care of herself. So she had her knee replaced, and in a sort of shocking turn of events for Margaret, she took several weeks completely off to focus on her physical therapy, and now she is working part-time weeks to continue doing that. And we're really glad that she is, you know, getting that time to focus on herself. And I appreciate everyone's patience as I try to do my best Margaret impression over the next couple of weeks.
it's an impossibility, as you know, but I think you're doing not bad. So,
Great.
thanks a lot.
Everyone.
Okay, have a nice evening.
Well done.
Okay, I think we're gonna circle back to grievance policy as our next agenda item here. So back to you,
Yes.
Cheryl.
Well, you pointed out that, the policy that I added to the packet is a policy that predates that, in that there's a federal, it's, continuation, if you will, and a state.
Let
So
me
the
just,
grievance policy is what it is, but there's things that are accessible by the federal program and things that are accessible by the state program only. So you go ahead.
yeah, so I just, again, history, I think, you know, some of us were there. We actually updated our whole grievance policy in the end of 2019. And we approved it, and it was the ones, it covered both federal and state. We submitted it to the state. The one that you have in your packet. And they said, no, you can't have this one. You have to have a separate state and federal one. You don't approve it. And so in the January 28th board meeting, we basically, you know, separated, you know, the Siamese twins. And Cheryl wasn't here for this here. So there's actually, you know, approved, you got that one, you know. Yeah. Yeah, and at the same time, we created a clone of the state one that was almost identical, except that at the beginning it said it only, you know, applied to the federal, you know, tenants in Section 8, and all that. And it was just about exactly the same, except it didn't have one last appeal step. And on the state side, you can appeal the decision of the board of directors to, at that time, DHCD, now HLC. In the federal government side version of this, there's no such right of appeal. That doesn't exist. There's no place to go. So the NHA board has the final step. So you're in that context. You want to make some updates, I believe, right?
No, I
Yeah.
think we'll make sure that this policy that we're considering will include that, those changes. I don't think that the policy that we're currently reviewing, the RAB board and I.
Okay, I'll dig
that.
out the federal one as well, because
Yeah.
I looked for it quickly when I discovered this afternoon, and I know we approved it at the same time.
Yeah.
When we separated them out.
That's
So let
very
me see if I
important.
can find that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, but this is not it here, whereas you have,
I'll find it for you.
okay, in terms
Yeah.
of the.
No, it's just a whole separate standalone document that
Okay.
said, you know, how this one was relabeled to say state aided public housing.
I see.
There's one that says for federal aided
Okay.
public housing,
Perfect.
and I will
All right.
find it.
Perfect,
I think it's in the board packet for the January 28th meeting,
okay,
but I know I have a copy there somewhere.
great, okay, great.
Okay, we are now at prohibited recreational equipment policy, PHN 2003-04 on page 106. What's that about?
Right, so again, a lot of this is just lack of enforcement. Behavior has happened in terms of pools and trampolines, swing sets. We do have an above ground pool at one of our properties that it has been filled to the rim. And it came to my attention that this behavior has happened. And as well as the trampoline. There are folks that like to have a trampoline, and these are recreational equipment that is prohibited by EOHLC and HUD. So we have to enforce this. We have to say, we have to take it down. I've looked at other policies from other agencies in terms of language to include. This is just a draft. The RAB board and I are considering these policies, and we will include some additional language in the recreation prohibited recreational equipment policy. There's really nothing, unless you see something in it that you don't think appropriate to include.
Yeah, I mean, these all follow templates of best practice recommended at the federal and state level.
Yeah.
Yeah, or required.
For years and years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, liability against the
Liability.
agency, you know, if somebody
They
gets
get-
hurt,
Cool.
a pool, and there's
Or
a
trampoline.
huge water bill associated with that pool.
Pool,
Can I
swing
make
set,
a point of
and-
order?
Yes,
Would you be willing to consider those tiny plastic pools for toddlers?
That's a great point, Commissioner Bennett. I think we should put language in there of how they store the water, empty the water, and how they're making sure that they're monitoring their children while in the water. The thing is, we
Yes,
don't want to
is-
have standing
is what-
water. Yeah.
Yes, and as well as, you know, maybe a slip inside. I'm just bringing this up because, as we all know, the temperatures have gone crazy. And another thing is, we've just had the brand new paving, how black that is, how hot it gets down here. I mean, we've got to make some concessions to the residents, within reason. So
so I'm thinking.
So I think maybe at the RAB board meeting, Cheryl, some considerations could be made.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm thinking this is a draft, we want comments on this draft by our
Eyes on
deadline.
it, comments.
Yeah. And from other commissioners as well as Janice and Eric. And what Janice says sounds like it makes sense as long as we can. I think it's one of those approve it in advance thing. So, you know, one person's wading pool is another person deep enough pool that a baby could drown in, you know, so that's.
That's
You know,
correct,
that's
and we do
one-
have some violators on there that we need teeth.
So if there's like an inch of water in it, that's not a problem, but if there's a foot and a half of water, you know, somebody isn't paying attention, then all of a sudden. we have a
I'm talking the
lawsuit on our-
4-inch pools, the 4-inch plastic
Yeah, right.
pool.
Right,
Baby.
waiting little, yeah, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so, good.
Hello,
Next
So the
policy.
next,
hello.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
Penny.
DC, I'm sorry very much. Go ahead,
Yes.
Penny, please.
At the Christian Science Monitor Church Terrace patio and at the Rose Kennedy Garden area, they don't have pools. They have surfaces that are spraying water.
Splash pad.
Yeah. And even soaking hoses are wonderful for children. They can run in and out of them like a sprinkler. You don't really need 2 or 3 inches of water in order to cope with the heat.
As you are about to hear, when we get to the Seabeds Cook, the rest of the Seabeds Cook Preservation Modernization Report, we are doing a whole bunch of things, but nobody thought of what you just said, Penny. Nobody's thought of what you and Janice just combined to say. And you know what? We should pass this along to our architects, because we've talked about where does the basketball hoop go? What's the best location for that? Nobody's ever thought of, you know, it's gotten pretty effing hot out there, and, you know, speak scientifically, and we should have one of those things. We have room for it. We have money to do it.
Let's do it.
We're rebuilding the whole do the whole playground right over there in the playground area. We're relocating the sewer pump that's in the playground to another location more out of the way. So we're reclaiming some real estate at the playground when the town gets around to doing that. Perfect location, you know, right there next to the playground, you know. Wow, good idea.
Also, there's
Excellent.
at the,
I'm gonna write that down.
Dennis knows about this,
Okay.
at Peter Williams School, the playground has sails
Yeah.
that are causing shade in playground areas. They're
I've sent those-
horizontal sail
Penny,
shade.
I've sent those pictures on to
Oh, good, okay.
the architect, so
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
please do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next is cybersecurity. What's happening here?
Yeah, cybersecurity. So, EOHLC put out a notice 2024-12, cybersecurity alert, putting public housing agencies on notice to, update their security systems. Needham Housing Authority has already begun this process. We have been working with our IT department in removing, putting a data in the cloud. And he's updated several firewalls in our systems as well. We also have a security system in place with our bank. It's called Positive Pay. We've initiated that security application as well. So, you know, this is extremely helpful to all of us. Obviously, UHLC has done a great job of examining this concern and outlining it very thoroughly for public housing agencies to consider. And we are doing that. I had asked my IT person to give me a more detailed report. And once I get that information, I will forward that along in terms of our security systems for the agency.
Sure, I could just have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know from experience that one of the biggest issues here is people responding to phishing requests. And no criticism of people, they're getting so.
Yeah.
But it can be spoofed as if it's coming to you.
Yeah.
So people who want to be really responsive get caught. Are we doing training of all?
Yes, we are. And we started that process months ago because we had a situation where one of our staff thought it was a real request, and it wasn't. It just so happened that the two people involved happened to talk about it, and then they get this phishing email. And so they are aware. Even today, we got an email, I think, from Denise Garrett, asking for something. My human resources financial specialist brought it to my attention. And, you know, he says, this email is not, so, you know, we are aware to look for these emails that are crazy. Since our IT people have started the firewall protections, they're coming less and less frequently, but we have gotten a great deal of them. Definitely while he was transitioning everything from the cloud, so we're more of a cloud-based environment now. And we were getting a lot of those phishing kinds of emails. And, you know, my Ross service coordinator was spooked as well. And she called me, she said, Cheryl, you want me to pick up some gift cards? You know, so they are pretty, you know, we've done a great job of heading, you know, taking this on, you know, full force months ago. And we're still doing some things. And then, as I said, we're with our banking system, we have Positive Pay. So we have to decision every check that comes in. If those checks don't get decisioned by us, then they don't get processed by the bank. So that's a real good one because people are stealing checks and whitewashing checks and doing things that, and then trying to submit payment for them. And if the bank doesn't recognize that, they want us to say first, are these checks okay? We say yes. We have a certain time during the day that we have to do that. If it doesn't happen, those checks don't get cashed. So we have a good system so far in place, but you know, this is very, very good guidance to stay vigilant and do more.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions from anybody? I wanted to draw our attention to the last conclusion page on page 112 of our packet. You know, it's entitled, okay, we hopefully scared the heck out of you. What steps should your LHA start with here? And, you know, the sort of 5-point recommendation here, I thought I'd just outline for the minutes, really, to make sure we're taking it so seriously, if no other reason, if something goes on, wrong here. Discuss the PHN, both with your employees and the boards. Note, LHA boards can meet, discuss cyber prevention methods in closed sessions using executive session purpose, quote, discuss the deployment of security personnel or devices or strategies with respect thereto. Do we feel a need to do that? What's the sense of the board? Do you?
I think
would
we
that
should.
something, you know,
Always
something
better
you
to be
would
safe than
recommend?
sorry.
Would you recommend that? And we can bring an expert in, so, you know, it's not, you know, get somebody to, you know, they have a whole list of suggested companies that can help us at the end there.
Yeah.
The second one is all executive directors should review all 5 modules of the quote, minimum baseline of cybersecurity for municipality. I guess it's a training program or an orientation program. Is that something that is on your to-do list?
Not necessarily, you know, I think we're doing a good job of staying ahead of this, but if you suggest that we keep it on there, we will.
Well, you don't need, you know, it's not like you need anything more to do than you already have, I realize that, but it's the other thing is, it's the kind of thing it, you know, again, things go wrong, I mean, some very sophisticated companies have gotten caught.
Yeah.
You know, in this, and if we don't do that,
Mhm.
or maybe you can deputize somebody to do it, like, you know, Blair or somebody else, but it just seems to me that something that we might want to consider taking the box when we get a chance here.
Yeah.
Number 3 is sure all personnel accessing LHA systems are using their own individual ID and password.
That's true.
Okay.
It's a true statement.
And I would add to that, 2-factor authentication. So.
We do have the ability, I currently, I can either sign in with the word and password and also with a numeric password.
I mean, the 2-factor authentication is a very simple, extra, very brief step that can really protect a lot of things. For example, I'll just use ourselves as an example. Your laptop is down, so I'm dialing into your Zoom account to run the meeting, but I can't start the meeting. I can't access your account because you get the, you know, the 2-factor authentication. So there's no way I can sneak around and pretend I'm Cheryl Gosman and do something here.
And we do have a lot of that, even when we log into our banking system, we do have that 2-factor.
Now, the other thing we don't do, we can talk about this in the commissioners meeting, is we did set up commissioner email addresses for everybody, but nobody uses it except me.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, something we could put on our agenda for
Yeah, we
later.
should probably do that.
So
Yeah.
think about, you know, it's not hard to do,
Well,
but,
we
yeah.
tried with Jim, right? We tried to set you up with the Needham Housing Authority. Has it been useful? I know you had some hiccups with it.
No, I've got it, it's fine. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
always
I
just
use-
worried that you
It's good
weren't
to get
getting
copy of
it.
both,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if for security, I've got to default to the Outlook.
Well, and I've had it forever.
Yeah.
People know that I use that, and that's because so much of what I've been doing really belongs to the Needham Housing Authority. So ultimately, if
What happened?
Everything froze.
Can you hear me, Penny?
Yes, I can hear you, but That's-
Yeah, I don't
that's-
hear anybody else.
I guess we're gonna have to adjourn the meeting.
No, they'll come back.
Hello? I
Their
don't think they
power
can.
their power must have gone back on.
Hey Siri, call Reg Foster.
Calling Red Foster home.
See if he picks up his phone. No. We can't.
Oh, jeez. It went to voicemail.
Is that his mobile phone or is that his cell phone?
I think it's his mobile.
Call Cheryl Gosman.
Calling Cheryl Gosman. Home.
Yeah, I've got the same problem.
Hey, Janice.
Hi, you lost us all.
Okay.
The power go back on up there and
Get you back on. Okay.
she's gonna get us back on. Let's have a sip of wine.
No.
Penny, that was a great suggestion about the splash pads. I hadn't thought of that.
When you talk about the water slide, were you talking about the strip of plastic on the lawn?
Yeah,
and then-
slip and slide, doesn't take much, doesn't eat up a lot of water, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not, but it's not a swimming pool, so I see absolutely no reason to, that would not be acceptable.
Yeah, she was in agreement with it. As well as the little pool for the, you know, for the babies, you know, you gotta cool
Sure.
them off, you know? And you know, you don't want to use the hose because that could be a lot of water. You know? Unless you have it on like a sprinkle, I don't know. But it's been so damn hot and it's gonna get 10 times hotter with the new pavement. It's so black.
Yes.
So, I mean, the kids don't even go out. Penny knows that. Nobody goes out till this basically 6 o'clock till the sun goes down. Unless it's real early morning because it's so incredibly hot
Understood.
and the humidity don't help. So, uh-oh, the doorbell.
Wait, what?
Do you want some ice water?
Thank you for the interruption. Are we recording? Yes, we are. So we were using our backup internet and the phone that we're using battery, and now we're on another one here. So good.
That's what I thought. The power went back on.
So we've now we did finish the internet security one here. So if anybody wants to backtrack, let's keep going forward. Annual inspections, Linden and Chambers update.
It's just really no update. They've gotten through a lot of inspections in Chambers, and they are working on Linden now. Blair, however, is in training this week, so, and our director of maintenance is on vacation. So they will complete the inspections upon their return, and I'll have a more comprehensive report for you at our September meeting.
Super. Any questions? Onward. Fire alarm upgrades. Yeah.
So
Great
fire alarm,
planning,
yeah. At 1415 Great Plain Avenue, 689 project. The bid process has been completed. A low bidder has been chosen. References have been checked. The low bid came in at $49,900.
Wow.
Yeah, very low. So that will be a much needed fire alarm upgrade panel project for that development.
Cheryl, I have a question.
Yes.
Is there any explanation why that bid was so absolutely so much lower than all the rest of the bids?
I know.
Not necessarily a detailed explanation of why. That is what the architects an engineer, the company is who the architect and engineers chose, and they checked references on this company as well. So,
All right, so the architects were involved with selecting that?
that's correct. This is a state project, and EOHLC really does a lot of the upfront work for housing agencies. They secure the architect engineers. And the architect and engineers put together the package, uploaded
Okay,
it.
but if they're recommending it, that satisfies me.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, when it comes in low, it comes in low, but they do check those references before they award the bid. The contract will come to the agency for my signature, and when that happens, you know, I will bring it to your attention. And you'll see more of the details of what I included here. I tried to include everything about the project, about the bid portion of the project. The previous month, I gave you more information about the architect and engineer that is putting the project out to bid. And so this is that project coming to conclusion, and
Thank you.
the company's been selected. So no problems here. This was a bigger project, just so you know. It was originally scheduled for Linden Street, and when I spoke with the EOHLC engineer, I said, you know, those buildings are coming down. I don't think we need to spend $300,000 on a fire alarm replacement project. So this was repurposed, well, not repurposed, the focus was on this 689, and we hope to do 6673 changes.
I have a question. Cheryl.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Now this development, it's on Great Plain Ave, and my question is it a direct wire to the fire department, or is it a beam signal?
That's a great question, Janet.
Direct wire is the old style. They go underground, there's a direct wire, or does it get beamed? Because there's a big difference when power outages happen.
Okay. Yeah, it's a fire alarm panel replacement, a fire alarm upgrade. I don't know, and I can find out and get back to you on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's a lot of money. So
What's
for
the
that amount,
preferred
I
way?
think it should be a direct wire, which is, you know, underground.
Mhm. Okay. No, I will find out and respond tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, or shall we go on? You have any other updates? I think we're at the end of
I
the
have
list.
no other upgrades.
Lots of
Updates.
policies,
Yeah,
great.
lots of
All
policies.
right, so I think we moved to the home stretch a little bit here. We're on agenda item D. The first, number one, is an update on the developer partner RFP. The request for proposal that we put out for Linden Street redevelopment developer partner. The proposals came back on Wednesday the 7th. We got 3 proposals, which is a good thing. There were 11 entities altogether that expressed interest during the review period, and we got 3 proposals. They were all judged to be fully responsive, and they're from well-known firms. The proposal evaluation committee had their first meeting yesterday, maybe Jim or Cheryl, who are leading it from the Housing Authority, some person evaluation committee. How did things go without getting into any details, because their deliberations are confidential until they come to their conclusions, and then they write a report that becomes public information, goes to the board.
Yeah, I'll share, first chunk of the meeting, we went kind of through process and schedule and the stuff you talked about, the confidentiality, the 30B process. So we covered all that. That was very good. And we had enough time to open some discussion about the proposals. So starting on that process was good. We are meeting again on Monday now.
Cheryl, do
Yes.
you want to add anything?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was a great meeting, great group, great comments, very organized. And I'm really excited about the process, the road that we're traveling down, very excited about that. So,
Okay, and be several more meetings between now
we should
and,
wrap everything up by the end of the month.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think we're doing,
Yeah.
and we had the expertise on the panel is fantastic.
Yes,
So
yes, it's really exciting.
super. Okay, I, second bullet there, I just wanted to alert the board that if they, stay on schedule and wrap things up by the end of the month, that end of the month is the week of the August 26th, Monday, the 26th. And, they will be producing a report to the board. The proposals will be available to the board at that point in time. And the evaluation committee will be scheduling a special board meeting either before the end of the, before Labor Day weekend, if that is possible, but obviously need to make sure we get enough time for the board to review everything. Or early the week of, the second, I guess the second is Labor Day, so the week of the 3rd of September. So somewhere in there, when we get a better feel for when the evaluation committee is gonna get things wrapped up, I'll be asking, doing a schedule calendar drill thing to see if we can find a time to meet. Any questions about that before we move on? Okay, the street redevelopment project, Cambridge Housing Authority may not be helping us with this project anymore, but BH&A has stepped into their shoes. It is per the decisions we made in April and May and so forth, they're putting together all of the materials and information and so forth necessary to try to submit an application, a site plan review application by the 3rd week of this month, August here. Looking forward to a month later, having a site plan review public hearing with the planning board. This is the formal, they've informally reviewed our design a number of times since last October. This is actually the formal review of the very same design that hasn't really changed that much since then. And the reason why and it probably will not be opened and closed in one meeting. It might be continued into October for another meeting or two, but the goal is there to, if things go according to plan, to have that completed by the end of October, so we can submit with our new developer partner the one-stop funding application to the state, to HLC for the nearly the overall project is weighing in at $84 million plus or minus a few, and about 30 or 40 million of that funding is all part of a funding approval process that starts around early November, usually every year. The EOHLC has not published their new schedule yet for this upcoming funding round, but the goal is to get in there and get an application. Even if we wind up getting turned down, we could have the perfect project, everything done perfectly and so forth, and there just isn't enough money to go around. And there are other projects that have been waiting, 1 or 2 or 3 years to be funded. So we may not make it that first time. Usually it doesn't happen. But if you're not there knocking on the door,
Definitely not gonna happen.
You need to have, that's what we're trying to do. So that, that's that 3rd bullet there, which is the 9/24 meeting, the planning board. And then I thought the board would just like to know there are 2 other meetings that are associated with the planning board review. The first one is the design review board, and it's meeting this Monday, the 19th at 7. And they're the board of architects basically in Needham that are under our bylaws empowered to look at all projects. They sort of cover the look and feel of the project and the site layout and, you know, the attractiveness and the fit with the neighborhood and the appropriateness stuff and so forth. They review all the signs that go up on, you know, on commercial buildings and so forth. You can look them up on the town website if you want a little bit more about their charter, but that's one of the steps we have to do is to kind of have a review with them. And that's gonna be, we're last on the agenda that begins at 7 o'clock on Monday. So that's coming up. And then the next one is on Thursday, the 13th of September, Conservation Commission. So we have, as you know, we have flooding in the area. We have a stream running down the back of the property and underneath the parking lot. Yeah, we're basically, I think the original site, you know, 50, 60, 70 years ago was probably all a marsh, given the way the flooding and problems there. So there's a notice of intent going to the Conservation Commission, and they have to exercise their Wetlands Act oversight, wetlands bylaw oversight, and give us permission to use, you know, to do what we want to do there with the redevelopment. So, and then the third thing is very exciting, is that we are now taking the steps necessary to qualify for what's called passive house. You can look it up yourself, but this is the very highest of high standards for climate resiliency, for energy, you know, energy efficiency, no fossil fuels and so forth. And and you have to go through a whole process that called, I don't even know what FIA stands for, P-I-O-U-S, I should look that up. But we have to pay $30,000 to a consultant in that area.
What?
Losing you. We're losing you.
Certify that we're gonna meet these high, because Needham has, you know, bylaw. Losing this, yeah, is that your phone? Right, we're close. All right, so onward quickly. Any questions about that?
We didn't hear the last half of it, so.
Oh, we didn't.
No,
Well,
you were all broke up.
It was hopefully recorded here. So we're doing seabeds and Cook preservation modernization. So we completed the 50% design review, went through a 1 month long value engineering process to kind of get what, you know, get it to fit in the budget. I think in the interest of our failing internet connection, I won't go through any details, but I'm thinking that we do need to do that, you know, meeting tenant, yeah, we need to write something up that kind of translates what's on our spreadsheet into what we're doing, but we're basically doing kitchens and bathrooms. We're doing, replacing hollow core doors with solid core doors. We're upgrading the fire alarm safety systems. We're putting acoustic panels in the community room of Cook because it's echoey in there and nobody can hear anything. You know, we're upgrading all the HVAC systems, so we're going to be mostly electric and no fossil fuels, except for backup, and getting everything solar panel ready. And we're putting our first charging stations in at both Seabeds and Cook, and down the road the people might have electric cars here, so we'll have more information on that. We just got this a day ago, so we're not really ready to get into detail there.
Any central air?
Central air, yeah, so basically air conditioning, getting rid of all the window air conditioning units and replacing them with heat pumps. heat pump units, so more details to come. Okay, we've done all the administrative stuff except the PRI budget update. We just got a major update from CHA finally yesterday, day before yesterday. So we'll review that with the board at the next time we get together here. So that's it. Any questions about PRI that we haven't already gone over here? Over to you, Cheryl, our initiative, control initiatives.
Okay, so unit 22, unit 42 will be taken off the agenda as of today. That unit is filled with a wonderful family of 8 people, I believe, that are in that unit. I think it's more than 8. And they're very happy. It's a beautifully done, redone unit, and so we are adding that thing back into our inventory and adding that family into PHA web and all the things that we have to do to account. them.
Congratulations to all of us. A round of applause. It's been a long road to get this done.
Beautiful, beautiful unit. I wish I could have shown it to you before they moved
Yeah.
in, but they did a great job. It's really nicely done.
There's a lot of, we don't have to, there's a whole bunch, we don't need to do a new kitchen or anything there, do we?
No, exactly. So, and we'll talk more about that.
All right.
Okay, so kids after school. I got a nice little reminder from Ed. He sent me a great email about starting up the Cooks After School for 2024 school year, which is a great reminder, help us to stay on track. We have hired an after-school program manager. I had brought a copy of her resume with me to this meeting, and I will make sure that everyone gets a copy of that. She's a lovely young lady from Babson College, and she hopefully will start for the fall of this year. Lori and I have been having meetings with Northeastern University, who does a great work study program. And so we reached out to them about, what it would take to have someone from their work study program come into our community as an after-school program manager as well. So I have that sort of as a backup. In case for some reason this graduate student at Babson College cannot continue throughout the year with the program. So I'm excited about that. So that's Cooks. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I just want to say, Cheryl, as you and I are some of the founding members of the sweet little reading program that started this whole after-school program. And since Penny was the resident service coordinator, and her job included the fundraising, which is not included in the resident service coordinator's job now. They had changed that to make the manager a employee instead of a contractor, and therefore the employee manager was scheduled with the task of raising the funds. I do not think that worked. I think what worked was when the resident coordinator was tasked with raising the funds and hiring a manager that wasn't connected to the housing authority. I mean, I have to say I'm disappointed in the opening of the program since the building was redesigned. I'm really disappointed because I've gone up there myself and monitored it, and it's just a free-for-all, and something's got to be done to turn that around. I know firsthand what it can look like and what it looks like, and I'm disappointed.
Yeah, well, we hired a new after-school program manager, graduate student from Babson College. I'll forward you a copy of her resume. We've also redid the job description, which does not include fundraising for this.
Okay,
position.
that's a part-time position. A Babson School graduate, do you think she's gonna want to take that job on?
We had 30 applicants from Babson College submit applications, so yeah, I think they do want to take it on. It's a good position with a good pay for a student. Yeah, and Northeastern will also help us out as well if as a backup. So we have them going into the program as a backup so that we can continue to provide services for students who want it.
Okay, well, I'm very well aware of the nice letter you received from Ed, and I have to concur with that because I know it comes from both of them. And I just have to say that I think we should go back to trying what works, what has worked for 10, 15 years in the program. I mean, we were commendated by the governor, so, you know, you can't get any better than that.
Thank you.
That's my comment.
Okay. Onward, or yes, Ed?
Is the goal of the kindergarten through grade 6 program, is the goal of that to have time for reading and a time for homework assistance? Is that part of the plan?
It's not K through 6. We've and yes,
I can't hear you.
it's not K through 6. Yes, and the goal is for children to read. We have a beautiful library there, and the goal is to make sure the children are utilizing that library. Beautiful library space.
I've been informed that for the last 2 years, there was absolutely no reading encouragement and time spent for reading, and there was no homework assistance. And I would like assurance that to try to restore the program to its former level of accomplishment, that this is an enforced part of the program, and that any children that don't want to participate at that level should not be part of the program, because what we've had for the last 2 years has really been childcare. It has nothing to do with educational opportunity.
Exactly.
I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you asking me for?
I'm asking you for an assurance because you have rejected repeated offerings of the people who made it happen in the past, help and guidance from them. And I don't, if it's you to the services coordinator, who has been I would consider a failure in running that program and training the person who's going to be there day to day. I just, we accomplished so much, and so little has been done to restore it. And I just really like to have some assurances on your part that if the current services coordinator is not capable of training this day-to-day manager, that you're willing to accept some help from the people who have already done it and made it successful in the past. And I find it very frustrating that you keep rejecting any offers of help.
So I'm thinking what I'm hearing is, we'll have, by the time we meet again on the 19th of September, the program will have started. The person will be oriented and so forth and so on. And Cheryl and you have all three of you have a big concern about reading being part of the program, and that Cheryl can come back and say, that's one thing, here's what we're doing. I'm not, and let's make that something that is an action item for the next meeting to report out on. Does that sound good?
Okay.
It sounds good, but I just want to say, it's gonna be the same children that are coming back to the program and exhibiting the same.
No, I think that you made your point very clearly, that you think that's very important, that there be a repeat reading component among the other components of the program. And let's give that to Cheryl to follow up on and come back to us on. Okay.
I just wanted to add that it's gonna be the same children coming back to the same program, exhibiting the same behavior and the same discontent for the program. So I would like to see a summer meeting of the participants and make sure that the parents are involved. Letters gotta go out to the parents. I mean, there has to be parent involvement. And if there's not, the child should not be allowed. Because it has to be a three-way program. You've gotta have cooperation all the way around. These are children. They can't make
Yeah.
decisions for themselves.
I think we got it here. So can we move on? Any more
Sure.
points? All right. Great. Onward to number E3, roof replacement, High Rock Estates.
So that job is wrapping up. These guys have done a phenomenal job. I will send you their link where you can see pictures of the work that's been
I'd
done.
love to see that.
The shed replacement, the shed roofs have been replaced as well.
Mhm.
But you will receive a change order because there were spotty areas that needed to be remediated. Some of the shed roofs had small holes in the roof, in the wood planks.
Mm.
So they did it in addition to just, changing the shingles on it. They did some spot work, they call it, spot work. So you'll see that, that change order. There are 3 change orders coming forth for this company. They're wrapping everything up. I'm glad that it's done. It looks really nice. That was a quick project, very successful project.
I went
Great.
over and checked out some of those roofs and I saw some of them were really depleted and some of them that have done really, really nice work over there.
Yeah, it looks so much better.
Long overdue.
Yeah.
Long overdue. And we're gonna have to, eke out things for another few years there,
Right.
but there is some hope.
Yeah.
That we can start turning our attention to High Rock Estates,
Yeah.
not 2025, but I'm thinking 2026, but we've got a lot on our plate right now. in terms of
Well, I
projects.
think you'll have some more emergency roofing problems over there. before that.
I think we could set our watch by that, our clocks here. Okay.
And then the last one is site improvements here at Seabed's Way and Captain Robert Cook Drive. This company has really been a great company to work with.
Mhm.
Residents have really enjoyed their conversations with the workers. They've been polite and pleasant and very reliable.
Mhm.
I drove through the development last night. It was so noticeable to drive through a very nice, smooth roadway. Just,
It's a
Like a bowling-
miracle.
There's a bowling alley out
Yeah.
there with the stripes you can actually see, on the pavement here.
so that piece of the work is done. There are some spot work, or what do you call it, Janice? Punch lists. A
Yeah.
punch list that the architect and engineer and contractor and our guys will go through. So there are some little areas that just need a little touching up, perhaps. And they will complete that side of it.
Hallelujah is all I can say.
Yeah.
I want everybody to know that Cheryl fought tooth and nail to make sure this got done. Not waiting for the renovation project that we're trying to get for the rest of it. And I think everybody has no idea how much she fought for that. And look at that, what's done.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, that's just been a huge annoyance. So now onward to Chambers Street and we'll see
Yeah.
what we can do there with our new budget money
Yeah.
that you just announced that we're
Yes,
getting. I've got my fingers and toes crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're out of agenda items, no new business here. Do you want to say anything about these information and items that you attached before we adjourn here?
Only if there are any questions, if anyone has any questions about them. One of the ones that I'm pretty excited about is the Youth and Family Services and their initiative to work with our residents, mainly family residents that they'd like to talk with about mental health issues that they may be having. They like to meet in the community rooms. And at some point, I had my cheat sheet of notes and it got buried in all of the other paperwork, so. But this is a project that our Ross Service Coordinator put together. She outreached to the 2 clinicians who work through the Youth and Family Services through a grant from Boston Children's Hospital and their satellite campus that they're setting here in Needham. They've set money aside for various groups for various reasons. And this one is for mental health concerns and issues. So you have a copy of the resume. You have a copy of the letter from Sarah Shine, Director of Family Youth Services. And if you have any additional questions for me, I'd be happy to try my best to answer them.
I'd just like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
They're very impressive. I hope they're, reflective of the actual people. It looks as if it would be a very helpful thing.
I'm
And-
sorry, Penny, that I left that out. We did meet with the 2 clinicians. They came to the office and we met with them in our conference room and had a really nice conversation with them.
Great.
Are they working with the Needham families
Family
through the
Services
Needham
Department.
town?
Yes, they're hired by the town, been quarried by the town. And I thought that, for me, it was important for me to get a copy of their resume so that you could see who these folks are. And that they will be in our community rooms starting in September, meeting with residents. We hope, because our residents don't always come out for things, so hopefully they will engage.
Provide food, they'll come.
Yeah, food is a draw, exactly, yeah.
So
Okay,
Cheryl, I
maybe
just
we-
wanna, I have a question. Not to violate any HIPAA laws, but because that program came into effect, do we have, I'm sure we do have a lot of residents that, may have some types of those issues going on.
Some of those.
And if it's known, have they been contacted for the program, or what is the protocol, or is there one
So
to get
Liz,
people involved?
Liz Fay is our service coordinator, and she, as I said, brought, reached out to this group. And she will make referrals, of folks in her work as our service coordinator and providing services to our residents. So there are some residents that, struggle, and she knows who they are, and she
Yeah.
can make referrals to this group.
Well, good, as long as they know that, there's a couple of targets out there that they can, reach out to. So yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah, and I'll keep you updated on their progress and, how it's going, if they're actually meeting with residents, et cetera. But the focus is for families right now.
Yeah.
And I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah, and sometimes you gotta look out for adults when they get,
Mhm. Yeah, it's tough. It's hard. It's really hard.
I mean, sorry, elderly.
Oh, and the elderly, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, the elderly, Needham is very generous to our elder populations.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're at the end of the agenda. Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Moved by Jim,
Second.
second by Penny. Call the roll. Reg Foster says aye.
Jim Flanagan says aye.
Ed Scheidler says aye.
Penny Kirk says aye.
Janice Bennett says aye.
Thank you all. Have a nice evening. Good meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
See you
You
at
too.
the end of the month. Bye-bye.
I'm cutting you off.
Okay.
Aye.
Good evening.